Otherwise they might misunderstand what we are talking about them is not known to them. One yajna has been performed here. That is in a series. One more has been performed here. This has been going on since the May 1991. Usually a yajna is performed only for the fulfillment of desires. There is nothing like jnana yajna. If there are desires that has to be fulfilled only by yajna. A man who has no desires would not perform a yajna. So here the speaker is full of desires. Since he has been doing this exam since 91, you can imagine how many desires this fellow must have had. Any number performed all over the country has not been sufficient for the fulfillment of those desires. And the speaker is perfectly justified in having any number of desires, which is why he has a large family, which is why he has been a great devotee to every form of God in every place, and he has not wasted a minute in requesting all gods, any god that is present before him at any minute, for the fulfillment of desires. Desires are of two kinds, the desirable ones and the undesirable ones. There are some desirable desires, and then there is an ultimate desire. All desirable desires are fulfilled by propitiating, by pleasing the gods and the Lord of gods through yajna. The best form of pleasing the God is the mantras. That is the medium through which a prayer can be given, offered to the God. Mantras are the Vedas. Of course, vernacular prayers are also heard by the God. Not that he does not know our language, but there is a difficulty in the vernacular prayer. When we mean something, we may say something else. That does not happen in Veda mantras. There the authorship of the language is our own. Desire is at the mental level, sometimes deeper than that. When the language comes out, it is bound to be defective. Usually God grants, when a desire is granted by the God, in accordance with the words used in the prayer. He has been very clever in doing it. Even Ravana was made to utter wrong things. Kumbhakarna was made to utter wrong things. For something else, deep in his mind, he said Nidra Nidra. So, God did not recognize the actual desire in his heart. He only granted what he uttered. So Kumbhakarna was granted a boon of endless sleep. Otherwise he would have eaten away the whole living creatures. So instead of depending on our own language and for our ability to put our desires in a language, we do this yajna through Veda mantras. Now the question is, what is your desire? I want my country, this country, extending from tip of the South India to Himalayas, to be absolutely peaceful, happy, prosperous, and I want this population to go on the path, progress on the path, leading ultimately to desirelessness. Peace, security, safety is a very general term. The implication is that they must behave in such a manner that they deserve peace. They should conduct themselves in such a manner that they deserve prosperity. So again, that condition can be fulfilled only when he grants the absolutely righteous thinking to our countrymen. The righteous thinking again is based, of course God can give it to anybody if he pleases. It is also depending on an understanding of the realities of life. What is good for me, what is good for my neighbor, what should I ask for, what should I not ask for. This kind of a wisdom is a result of some education. Education is not information. Learning the message from out of information is education. We have been praying the Lord to give this Aryavart a peace and prosperity. Obviously, the implication is that we don't have it. If we have it, we don't ask for it. And there is also an implicit prayer, meaning our future should be guided by Him, which means our future is likely to be dangerous if we are allowed to tread the path on our own judgments and tendencies of today. So we want that our antakarana, our buddhi, our manas, our chittam, and even our ahankara must be presided over by God, and we should be led on the path of dharma first, so that all the rest of the desires are fulfilled deservingly. And what is the importance of South? Of course, South India is more important today. By saying today, I don't mean this century. I also don't mean this present Kali Yuga. Much more than that. In Mahabhagavad, in the 9th skandha, towards the end of it, and at the beginning of the 10th skandha, it has been said that the present Vaivasvata Manu, who is the ruler of the present era and times, was a king in Dravida Desha previously. Vaivasvata Manu was the king of Dravida Desha in his previous birth. Then he came to be Vaivasvata Manu of today. To become a Manu, simple punyam is not enough. A Manu must be endowed with the knowledge and power to guide the human mind throughout his reign, that is his paripalana, in the righteous path to lead them to Shubham, Shreyas. Obviously, this great soul, who was the Dravida Desha king, had so much of knowledge, so much of wisdom, so much of power, so much of merit earned by his endless tapas, so as to become a Manu, Vaivasvata, to rule the present and the future of mankind. For this reason, Dravida Desha assumes a very great importance, because the present Vaivasvata Manvantara is ruled by this Manu, Vaivasvata, who ruled earlier the Dravida Desha. Our future was, the seeds of our future, the present and future, were sown in the south. That needs a very great explanation, very lengthy explanation of the scheme of things in the Yoga Dharma and the intentions of the Almighty God, what He wanted to do with the humanity in Kali Yuga. That's a very complex thing to explain in a few minutes. Let us only remember this. The future of Arya Dharma, whenever it faces a serious threat to its very existence and spread, it sought asylum in the south. Even simple British history or Indian history written by the Britishers would tell you that Arya Dharma fled to the south when it was threatened from the north. Therefore, it is simple enough for us to understand that here is the South India offers a sanctum, a sanctuary for the Arya Dharma in the present and the future generations, several generations to come. Vedas were born in the north somewhere, but their native place has gone beyond the borders. It now belongs to someone else. The heritage of the Vedas has been preserved more in the north for some time and more in the south now. A scheme of things in this analysis would indicate that we are bound to pay our greater attention to the happenings in the south and expect this country to be ruled by that inspiration that has been given to the people in the south, along with a power to influence the minds of the north, along with a power to dominate the future thought process of all the Indians or the Bharatiyas or the Hindus in general in future. The indication is obvious. One day this country will be ruled by the southern mind, because it is Dakshina is ascribed to Dakshinamurti, incarnation of wisdom. Wisdom is nothing but a great judgment after understanding the pros and cons of a mistaken prosperity, success or fulfillment of certain desires. That wisdom shall proceed from the south in future. That has been my thinking for quite some time. I always had a great devotion for the southern India as such. Whatever be the nativity, that's a different matter. One may be born in the Himalayas and be devoted to the south. One may be born in the south and be devoted to the Himalayas. Ultimately, it's all one home, of one family, of one race, and children of only one father and one mother. Here we have a great Mahakshetram presided over by Sundareshwara and Meenakshi, the Supreme Mother. Here the Supreme Mother is not in a ferocious form of Kali or Durga, but a giver of, fulfiller of desires of the devotees. Meenakshi is capable of giving, has a tendency to give anything to anyone. Only the Parivara Devas, the Ganapati, Subramanya there, have to be prayed in the beginning to make us ask for the right desire. The mother is ready to give what we ask. It should be good. What we ask for should be really good for us, for which we worship Ganesha, Subramanya here. I am sure in the coming decades you will very clearly see the change of trends in the current history of this country. History is not politics. History is the process of a country's evolution. Ultimately, we think events in political changes or the changes in dynasties of a country is history. That is not so. A process of thinking by the people over generations undergoes a great change. It flows like this river endlessly, perennially, and ultimately the whole race over a time evolves. Although the evolution is purely personal, but when a million souls share the same school of thought, thinking, emotion and direction, they are bound to progress closely and in companionship, in the company of his fellow men. Evolution of India is evolution of humanity. Therefore it came to be that we are here today, and this yajna has been performed in a remote corner of this, like this, purely due to the untiring efforts and great cooperation extended by our friend Venkateshwaran from Visakhapatnam. Well, this is his home turf. He has many colleagues, friends and relatives who helped him to help us. His own sister, Bona, and Venkatesh are two young members of our large family. They have done this at great pains. They have taken great care to see that everything goes well, and it did so. But for their cooperation and things, this would not have been easy for us to come. We have simply entrusted ourselves to their care and guidance. Everything has taken place very well. Please remember one thing. We have to look for a far, far brighter and wiser future in this country as one family called the Sanatana Dharma Sadas. Sanatana Dharma is our mother. We are children of that Sanatana Dharma, the mother. We have to progress collectively and unitedly also. Disunity is apashruti. It doesn't make a pleasant note. We have to think of the unity of our Hinduism, to be more specific, the Sanatana Dharma, the Arya Dharma, whatever you may call it. And we have to progress into a very, very different future from what we are today experiencing. It has to be different. It has to be a great change towards betterment when our children and the future generations will be given the appropriate guidance to serve this country and personally also evolve ultimately to reach the Godhead. Constantly, every person who is interested in himself must pray for the good of his country and the culture. He does not have to pray for his exclusive self. He himself is always included in the welfare of his own society. Asking for the welfare of the society in which he lives is more powerful than asking for his own welfare 100 times. It yields good results. God fulfills his desires, certainly. I don't want to take more time talking in general, but I will only ultimately ask you to remember that our home is far and wide, from Kanyakumari, tip of the southern peninsula to Himalayas. It is our home. We should feel that it is our own. There can't be any distinction between either side of the borders. These borders of the states are man-made, but God has made us only as one family and with one motherland and one mother culture. That is very, very essential. Some of the friends whom I have met locally have been doing great service in this spirit, and they are full-time devotees serving the society in so many ways. I found a few people here who said they are cleaning the temples, washing the temples continuously for some days. There is an association for that. A service for which only the God inside the sanctum can reward them. Rather than buying a ticket for 10 rupees and asking the pujari to speak out his gotram and offer one harati, take the coconut piece and go home. That may not really please the God. That kind of service to clean the temple would certainly please the God. It is a yajnam, far greater yajnam than the one we have performed. It's an example to be followed. There are so many things. We should be able to read the history of this country, history of our culture, and hand down our culture to our next generation. Keep visiting the great places of India. Read history, read the Puranas, Mahabharata particularly. Try to know what is happening, what has happened, what is presently happening, what ought not to happen in future, and what should be done now so that it does not happen. All these things are very essential for us. There lies our great future. In fact, the future of our children is exactly related to the greatness of this country's future. Future has to be great necessarily. A great country like this cannot have a bleak future. We have to imbibe that kind of love of motherland and culture in the minds of our children. I think I have already spoken too much. And, let us go and offer our heartfelt thanks to everyone that has served us to make this a success today. And I am sure this yajna will be one more flower at the holy feet of the divinity that rules our hearts, and the light that emanates from those holy feet shall lighten our burden, light up our path in future. Particularly, the South India is going to have a glorious future, which we will be sharing with them. No doubt about this. There, the future and future security of our culture also is in the hands of our father brothers. Remember this.